I love this lipstick. This is Revlon Mink. It's the super lustrous lipstick. I feel like this is my favorite lipstick. That's how I feel at this moment. Hi. Here's what happened. In a video last week, I'm not sure when it will have gone up, when this is going up, but I think it was the video called Review Revisions. In my review revisions video, I revised my reviews of 2 mascaras, and both of them were fine. And one of them, I said that I liked it, like I thought it was okay, but it wasn't one of my mascara babies. I was like, this mascara is decent in certain ways, but it's just not one of my babies. It's not one of the ones that is like on my short list of the mascaras that do exactly what I love and that I feel like I'll always recommend, that I'll always love. And then I moved on. And as I was editing it, I saw myself say that and I was like, what are your mascara babies, Hannah? And I suspect that some of you probably watching that were like, we want to know your mascara babies. Can you tell us what your mascara babies actually are instead of just telling us what they aren't? And that's what I'm going to do in this video. If this is your first time to my channel, then hi, welcome. Thanks for clicking on this video about my mascara babies. I'm interested in makeup, you know, I do care about the differences between X formula and Y formula, and that's what I'm going to be talking about today. But I'm not into buying too much and owning too much. And in fact, of my 4 mascara babies, I don't currently own any of them because I'm using what I have and the things that I happen to have. None of them are perfect for me, but that doesn't mean that I'm gonna rush out and buy the ones that are, because I feel like it's important to use what you have, use up what you have. It doesn't have to be perfect all the time. If that kind of beauty content sounds good to you, I hope you'll subscribe. Let's now go ahead and get into the meat of this mascara babies video. So let me start by telling you about my lash preferences. I really love a very volumized and very long lash. And I don't mind if there's quite a lot of texture in it. I like it when the lash looks tangled. I like it when there's little bits sticking out. I'm not looking for like an extremely sleek, groomed, fan-like lash. I like the lash to be kind of a jungle, and I like it to be dramatic. Like I like there to be a lot of it, a lot of little tangly bits. I do like it when I can pull the mascara out off of the sides of my lashes and lengthen my lashes in this direction to create a little bit more of a cat eye shape. So I like it when it really builds on itself. Basically, I want it to build and build and build, but without clumping together and sticking together so much that it creates the illusion that you have fewer lashes than you have. I want it to build and build and build, not just with length, but also with volume, so that the lashes themselves are thicker and girthier at the root, and it feels like they're multiplying from the root. I've described this before as being like the splinky lash, like long, cakey. I don't mind if it looks false and cakey and like there's a lot of gunk on your lashes. I kind of like that look. I don't mind if it gets so built up that it starts to look kind of 1920s, kind of like stage makeup just on the lash, kind of twiggy. Like I don't mind that look. I like the drama. One of the things that I like about mascaras like this is that you can kind of choose your degree of drama. It is possible to take a mascara that's very buildable and super dramatic and only apply a little bit of it to get a more natural, feathery, everyday look. And then you can build it for drama if you want drama. But when a mascara won't build, then you only have the first option. So I really, the mascaras that are on this list are ones that give you a wide range of possibilities. The first one is an old standard, a classic for me, but you might not know that because this is a mascara that I got really into way back in the Tango days. Like I was probably in my early 20s. And it was the first time that I really was like, I'm gonna splash out. I'm gonna find a mascara that does the most because I really want that to be like a feature of my look. So I went looking. I actually, I think, went to Sephora and talked to some employees, and I ended up buying a tube of DiorShow, the classic original, the basic, the one that's just called DiorShow. Compared to all the mascaras I'd tried before, which were probably drugstore, all drugstore or samples, or I might have had like a Benefit mascara at some point. Compared to the things that I had been using, DiorShow just gave me this like open-eyed, lifted, curled, splinky, gunky, dramatic. It's like spidery, but all of the positive connotations with none of the negative connotations of spidery. And it would just felt like my lashes went on forever when I applied it. I loved it. And I feel like DiorShow, I haven't bought it in a long time. And that's partly because now that I know about some drugstore mascaras that I think do the same thing, if I'm buying my own mascara, I'm buying drugstore because it's a lot of money for something that only lasts 3 to 6 months. Like I think DiorShow's in like the $30 or $35 range for a tube of it. So that's one reason why I'm not buying it. I feel like since then, new mascaras have come out onto the market that have similar claims. So I've been enjoying kind of like testing different ones, hopping around, trying other ones, and there have been plenty of good ones. But DiorShow to me, it's not just the quality of the mascara, it's also, it has this iconic feel. It's kind of an older mascara. It's been around for a while. And so it feels friendly in a funny way. And I've actually purchased this mascara as a gift for my sister and for friends on several occasions instead of other mascaras that are more dramatic and more splinky that I like, because I feel like it's got this approachability. It's like this classic old world, like Hollywood glamour DiorShow. There's just something about it. It feels really special, covetable, designer, but I know that it performs really well. And I know that it was really user-friendly for me back at a time in my life when I hadn't tried a whole ton of mascaras and I hadn't tried a bunch of makeup, and I got really good results from it. And I often got comments on my lashes at that time. Or people were often like, what mascara do you wear? What do you have on your lashes? So I think that I have like a fondness for it because of my personal history with it, but I also think that it still really holds its own on the market and just is a really good one. So the original DiorShow is, and probably always will be, one of my babies. Should we alternate high-end drugstore? I think that that's what we should do. So I'm actually going to tell you about the drugstore mascara now that I think is the drugstore version of DiorShow, and that is the Milani Highly Rated Mascara. And I actually think, I don't know if they did this on purpose. You know how sometimes when there's a drugstore product that's modeled off of an iconic high-end product, they'll make the packaging look kind of similar so that it's like a wink, wink, nudge, nudge to people who are into makeup to say like, we were trying to dupe this product, or this is a drugstore alternative to this product. DiorShow is like a dark blue tube with gold print on it that says Dior Dior, I think. And I think that Milani Highly Rated is also a dark blue tube and it's got gold stars on it and it says Milani Highly Rated. I love that. I love that packaging for a mascara, that it's like dark blue with gold stars on it. I really like the way that Milani Highly Rated looks. And I don't know off the top of my head if the brushes are exactly the same, but I remember when I tried Milani Highly Rated being blown out of the water, I received it as it was complimentary when I was at the Milani booth at BeautyCon like a couple of years ago. And there were a bunch of mascaras that I brought back from BeautyCon and some of them were really great. And Milani Highly Rated was the one that I was just like, where has this been all my life? And more importantly, why isn't anyone talking about it on beauty YouTube? Maybe it's quite old and I just missed it, but I feel like it's a drugstore dupe for DiorShow. I feel like it does that same thing. It's slightly like big barrel brush, slightly dry, but not so dry that product doesn't easily transfer to the lashes. And then it does that thing when you apply it where it just sweeps them up and open and builds fibers and builds fibers and builds fibers. And you just end up with like a much more swept open and much more fibrous and textured lash situation than you have with your natural lashes, and then you can often get with any other lashes. And I nursed any other mascara. And I nursed that tube of Milani Highly Rated. I nursed it and nursed it and nursed it. And I was sad when it was gone. And I would have liked to buy it again, but again, and I indicated this in the introduction, it's hard for me to buy a thing when I have other stuff that's working just as well. And so because I've had all these mascaras to test over the years, I haven't had the opportunity to go out and buy one of my own. But I think if I had that opportunity tomorrow, Milani Highly Rated is the one that I would likely pick because it's the drugstore price that I love and it has that amazing sort of like dry, fibrous, buildable quality that I love. I was going to say something occurred to me, a little thought floated across my mind and I was talking about something else and and I filed it away to bring up, and then I lost the file. Wait, it's coming back to me. I remember I was talking about the kind of dry quality that I feel like both DiorShow and Milani Highly Rated have. It's hard to explain. I feel like there are super wet mascaras where you feel like you're just getting a ton of gunk out onto the lashes, and I do love that feeling, and it's not like they arrive feeling dried out or feeling crusty or something. Both of these, DiorShow and Milani Highly Rated, both of them, when you open them, it's perfectly wet, perfectly fluid. I mean, there's plenty of product that you can use before it starts to feel like it's actually drying out. But I feel like the wetness is often like a super wet, super fluid mascaras, thin, wet formulas. That's what can cause it to feel like your lashes are just being painted or like they're just sticking together. That's what can cause like the kind of clumping that you can't come back from by brushing and separating the lashes from each other. So there has to be some amount of dryness and grit kind of that comes from the fibrous quality of the paste, the mascara paste. But lately I've been feeling like I've come across a number of mascaras that have this really great quality. They're super buildable. They do everything that I love, but it's like the paste is both very wet and very thick. And so it ends up becoming becoming like stiff and difficult to work with because they've tried to make it thick so that it builds, but they've also made it wet so that it's gunky. And I like the effect, but I feel like when the brush comes out, it's got like this stiff stuff on it. I've felt that way about Pat McGrath Darkstar, which in almost all ways is like on par with the ones that I'm talking about today. There was just something about the way that it evolved over time. It became like kind of gunky and thick and stiff on the brush. And so just the tool of the brush was harder to work with. There's another one that I'm currently testing right now that I'll tell you about at some point that I really love. It's what I'm wearing today and I think it looks beautiful, but it has that same, it's not a problem. It's just like, it's a feature that makes it fall short of being on this list, even though it's a really good mascara. And the thing that I like about both DiorShow and Milani Highly Rated is that they have enough viscosity, but they also have that kind of fibrous, dry quality. They have those qualities in balance in a way that works better for me than other super volumizing fibrous mascaras on the market. But let's talk about two that have different kind of wand, that are different in a lot of ways, but that I love just as much and that are on this list because they are also my babies. The high-end one is the Gucci Mascara L'Obscure. I love, this might be, actually it is my favorite mascara of all time. Talk about nursing a tube of mascara. I loved using the Gucci mascara, which my channel budget was spent on it by me in the passive voice for a review at the beginning of 2020. So it was months and months ago. I mean, it was a year ago at this point. It was months and months ago that I ran out of it. It was a full year ago at this point that I was reviewing it. And I made it last probably for 5 or 6 months. Like I made it last for a good chunk of the year, like half of the year. And they were the greatest months of my lashes' lives. Like I love it. The thing that's magic about it is that I feel like with DiorShow and Milani Highly Rated, you get that really volumized, beautiful, floofy, open, fluffy, fibrous lash, partly because the brush is this big dry barrel brush. So you're like brushing through and sweeping and dispersing the product, and it's like whoosh, 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 and it helps to get that shape. So it's like the brush is helping to comb through and make it look like that. And so the brush is designed in the right way for those mascaras, for those formulas, but you are precluded with that from doing any really detail work with like using the brush to like place lashes and move them around and like get them in exactly the right spot and like get in there. And most mascaras that have those really thin rubber bristle wands or like short tined wands that you can use for detail work aren't very volumizing. They don't have that building. The thing that's great about Gucci Mascara L'Obscure is that it's very buildable. And I have like a whole review. I'll try to remember to post my like up close review. The formula is amazing. So it's super buildable, nice and like, it's the nice balance between wet and dry without getting like too gunky and stiff and pasty. So the formula is absolutely beautiful. And the formula is so buildable that it withstands being applied with this little spiky brush. And you can get those like huge swooping, sticking together, super fibrous editorial lashes with it because of the formula. And then the brush is so small and easy to maneuver that you can place the lashes very carefully and kind of like sculpt your lashes with the tip of the brush. To me, it's the perfect wedding of all of the worlds, of qualities of mascara that I really love. It's like the best of all worlds. It's expensive. I think it too is like in the 30 something, 30 plus, maybe even more, 30, 32, 35, 38. It's something like that. It's like shy of $40. It's like a lot of money for something, again, that's essentially disposable in 3 to 6 months. And so it's not something that I would chain buy. Like I wouldn't be, even if I wasn't on YouTube and I was just a regular consumer, I wouldn't be out here buying the Gucci mascara and then replacing it with itself every time I ran out of it. I could see myself buying it like once every 2 years as a treat. I could see myself having it be the one that I return to every once in a while. It's just not in my nature with the way that I budget for beauty to pick something like that for a short-term staple. And then lastly, and I think that elegantly, you could kind of say that this is the drugstore equivalent. The closest that I've ever tried, the thing that I've tried from the drugstore that's come the closest of anything to the effects of the Gucci Mascara L'Obscure, both in practice, using it physically and in like the way that it looks on the lashes and what it does for the lashes, is the LA Girl Volumatic. And the brush is not as thin and tapered, so it's not as easy to do that detail work, but the brush is very rubbery and spiky. So it does offer more of that kind of control than the drier mascaras I talked about, DiorShow and Milani Highly Rated. And it too is really buildable in sort of a sticky way. It's definitely like a spiky editorial built up spidery lash in the way that the Gucci one is if you build and build and build it. This is another one that I think was given to me complimentary at BeautyCon, and that blew me out of the water. Before that, I had the best drugstore mascara I had ever tried was L'Oreal Lash Paradise, but it's like a good staple mascara, but it's not one of my babies. Like it doesn't really like do the thing. It doesn't take you there, I thought that because of what people talk about on YouTube until the cows come home, which is that, I thought that was kind of like the best that the drugstore had to offer. And then I tried Milani Highly Rated and LA Girl Volumatic both in the same couple of months because they were both given to me at BeautyCon, and I was like, these are the best that the drugstore has to offer. These are amazing. And I would 100% buy LA Girl Volumatic again. In fact, it comes in blue, and I've been thinking about trying a blue mascara again. I haven't worn blue mascara in a really long time, but if I were to buy a blue mascara, I would buy that one. I would buy Volumatic because I know that the formula is really, really good. And it does, again, a lot of what the Gucci one does. It's like viscous enough to really sweep onto the lashes, but it really builds and you get those immediate kind of like whoop, bam lashes, but in a little bit more of a sticky, spiky way perhaps than with DiorShow and Milani Highly Rated. So my two high-end picks, my two babies are DiorShow and Gucci Mascara L'Obscure. If I were gonna buy one of them tomorrow, I'd buy the Gucci one. If I were gonna give one as a gift, I would likely give DiorShow, honestly. The other thing about the Gucci one is that the packaging is just to die for. I mean, it is like stunning vintage inspired packaging, and it's very weighted. It's very beautiful feeling as an object, but that does make it maybe a little bit intimidating for people who aren't that into makeup, and the spiky brush is a little intimidating. So I would give DiorShow as like a high-end mascara gift. If I were going to buy a drugstore one, I would probably buy Milani Highly Rated, actually. That's probably the one of the two that I would pick from the drugstore, but both of them are fantastic. And that's it. Those are my only 4 true loves. Those are my true loves for mascara. Everything else, I feel, there are a lot of other mascaras that I'm happy to use, that are fine, that are working great for me, that are good enough. But those are the 4 that are on my personal short list, the 4 that I would buy with my own money, and the 4 that I consider to be my actual babies that I actually birthed from my actual womb, that are actually carriers of my genetic code, my descendants. DiorShow Louise Poston, Milani Highly Rated Louise Poston, LA Girl Volumatic Louise Poston, and Gucci Mascara L'Obscure Louise Poston. Thank you for watching this video. You know what I'm gonna say. Let me know what your mascara babies are? I'd like to know. Tell me in the comments. And don't forget to take extra good care of yourself today so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.